So the precursor to the race riot. The race riot was formulated by a guy called Gravedigger, who was a cage fighter. He was like 6'7", 6'8". It was ridiculous. He had a tattoo of the devil as a puppet master. And the guards,
you keep coming out with cooler characters,
right?
He would get in fights, and the guards just like to watch it. They wouldn't stop him, and he'd get someone down in a wrestling lock, and his arms were like chisels, his elbows were like chisels. He'd just be like, he'd have someone down in a wrestling lock, and he'd just be chiseling the fuck out of people's heads. Pools of blood just forming around them. Yeah, so Gravedigger, he was a formidable character. Fortunately for me, when he moved in my building, he had met Wildman, and Wildman gave him a note to pass to me, which helped me to an extent. But even though the Urians were sweating me to bring drugs in through my girlfriend, but yeah. So Gravedigger became our head of the Whites in our building because the previous head of the Whites got run out by him, and his name was Carter. So what was happening was
Carter has no chance versus Gravedigger.
No way.
Yeah,
he had no chance. He had no chance against SmackDown. So,
Gravedigger, you got a tough order in front of you. You got to deal with Al and.
So the race riot came about because they tried to run SmackDown out of the building, and they did run him out of the building. But the build up to that was SmackDown was the head of the blacks, and he was bullying people of all races from the commissary. Now Carter was the head of the whites, and when Gravedigger, and he hadn't been like saying anything to SmackDown because he knew SmackDown would probably fucking twat him, so he'd been quite mild-mannered towards him. But as soon as Gravedigger comes in the building, and now he's with the Woods. And he's this guy who can, beat anyone up in the fucking building probably. Carter starts to grow balls, and we're all at chow for breakfast one morning, and Carter starts to say like, you need to stop sweating people, dog, to SmackDown, and SmackDown's like, who are you talking to, fool, like that? And Carter's like, you heard me, you need to stop. And SmackDown's like, you ain't fucking telling me what to do in this motherfucking place. and get in that cell over there. And Carter's like, oh fuck. Now I've got to fight SmackDown. And he looks at Gravedigger, and Gravedigger's like, So
I got help me interpret that. I'm the only one who doesn't get it. Did Gravedigger say I have your back, or did Gravedigger say you are in quite the predicament? What just happened there?
All right. So in a situation like this, the gang rule is if someone calls you out from another race, you have to go and fight that person one-on-one. That squashes the beef. Gravedigger can't just jump in now and protect Carter or stop the fight or beat up SmackDown, because then all the blacks will jump in and all the whites will jump in, and then there's a race riot, and then the drugs business gets stopped into the prison, and the drugs business is the absolute priority of nearly everybody in there. So by having one-on-one beefs that are squashed, and then they shake hands at the end of it, whatever, the drug business is not.
So Carter and SmackDown have to fight now, and Gravedigger can't do a thing about it.
Gravedigger doesn't want to do a thing about it because he's about to usurp that power vacuum, right?
Exactly. So we're all watching this now. SmackDown just assumes the fighter's stance. Carter goes in. He gets knocked around. His heart's not in the fight. He's dancing around, trying to avoid getting hit. You can see he's getting stunned by these blows. He gets fucking twatted against the head. His head bangs against the fucking steel. And he's like, and he walks out, I'm done, and sits at the table with the whites. And then SmackDown comes out the cell, and he's like, what the fuck was that? I ain't done with you, white boy. Get your ass in here, you little fucking punk ass bitch. You call someone a punk ass bitch. That is the worst combination of words you could possibly use in that environment.
You got to defend yourself.
Yeah. So Carter's like, he's like panting and puffing at the table, bent over, pink faced, and he's looking at the Woods. He's like, I'm done. I've had enough. And Gravedigger Gravedigger just fucking stands up. All 6'7" of him with the devil tattoo on the skulls and all this other shit all over him. And he looks at Carter and he's like, man up, Wood. And just starts nodding his head. And Carter knows if he doesn't go in right there and then, Gravedigger's just going to grab his skull and knock him out. So he goes back in. Fucking repeat of the same situation, bouncing around. And this time he runs out so fast. There's a metal grid stairs over this when you come out the door. He comes out, he runs out so fast, he runs into the stairs and bangs his head and almost knocks himself out. And that's it. He's rolled up. Gravedigger tells him to roll his shit up. All the words to say, roll your shit up, which means.
Was Carter a tough guy at all prior to this, or was he just kind of a money man?
I'd say he was like a mediocre head of the woods. Okay. Yeah.
Not nothing, but he can't take out the
top guy. He couldn't defend. And so then like Gravedigger immediately
roll up your stuff. What does that mean? You were about
these are formidable fighters. SmackDown's a formidable fighter. Gravedigger. Carter probably could have withstood a fight against an average person. But these were extreme. So if you roll your shit up means you've got to roll your mattress up and you got all your bedding around it and whatever, your towel, your towel, your underwear, all that shit, and you got to get the hell out of that building. You move on to another. So he was gone.